connect to me, you can book appointments, you can look at my profile, you can do stuff like that. It'd be great to connect with those of you that I haven't connected with already. That would be great. Okay, this is what we're going to be covering in the next 30, sort of 45 minutes. So I expect us to be done by Q2. I mean, I don't know how many questions we're going to get, but let's see. So we're going to go through just a quick introduction. We're going to go through some quick fun facts. I don't know how many of those facts are going to make you laugh, but they're quite interesting facts with regards to LinkedIn. And then we're going to really, what the purpose of today is look at LinkedIn as a strategy. So we're not going to dive deep into going around through LinkedIn and through the individual bits and bobs of that. I'm very happy to do that on a one-to-one basis with anybody. Just book an appointment with me and I can do that with you, no cost. But really today is about an overview and a strategy and understanding how to get the best performance from LinkedIn. Lots of people use LinkedIn and we just don't get anywhere with it and don't believe it can be successful. But of course, guess what? It is. Those of you just joining, I'm going to do a Q&A session at the end. So fire your questions into the chat and my co-host Liam will read them out to me later and we'll go through them. That way, if there's any questions in there that I don't know, he won't ask me. How's that? That's good, isn't it? Okay. Okay, so here's just a brief introduction to LinkedIn. So for most of us, there's 38 million users in the UK, which is an enormous amount of users. I dare say some of them are robots, some of them are duplicate profiles, for sure, because I think there's only about 31 million working people in the UK. So it's a big number. And there's close to 900 million, maybe a billion now global users. We sometimes forget that our marketplace is worldwide, in actual fact, and LinkedIn makes it easier for us to collaborate and work with people worldwide as well. But probably most of us on this call are looking at what we can do UK-wide. So an interesting theme going to be running through this presentation is the power of data. And Microsoft recognized that back in 2016. It paid $26.2 billion for a company turning over just around $2 billion. Okay, so that's way over 10 times turnover. How would we all feel on this call now if someone paid for our business 10 times our turnover? We'd be pretty chuffed, wouldn't we? And that was a recognition. I mean, back in 2016, that was unheard of, really, and it was a recognition by Microsoft, who understood the power of data and the power of having clean data. And you can see there one of my notes, auto cleansing data. For those recruitment companies that are on here, I know there's a few. One thing we know about LinkedIn, it's not perfect, but people clean their data because they're looking for jobs. Yeah, so they clean themselves up and make sure that their data, their employers are right. So it's about as accurate a database as you can get, which is self-cleaning. So it's great. And this power of data is going to run all the way through today. Because I think as SMEs, we think it's only the Jeff Bezos of this world, the Apples of this world that are thinking about data. But actually, we as SMEs need to think much closer about actually what we're doing with data. There's so much money on the table that we are always there looking for something new, but we have an enormous amount of data surrounding us. And if we don't, then we need to. Okay, and that's some of what today is about. So LinkedIn, we know it's the largest B2B platform globally with its billion users. It's great for clients, but actually for those recruitment companies will know 6 people every minute are hired on LinkedIn. It's a phenomenal statistic. Last year, that number was 8 people every minute. So it's dropped a little bit, and that's probably relevance to the overall worldwide economy. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, here's an interesting stat, and it's quite interesting if you've been following LinkedIn for a while. So this is actually billions. So when we look at that last number, LinkedIn's revenues are now $15 billion. And if you look back in 2017, there were 2.2. So when you go, LinkedIn paid $26 billion for it, just add that number up. That's around $50 billion they've got back in revenues, not profit, but in revenues already from LinkedIn. And it's how Microsoft have monetized this platform. Okay. What does that mean? It means that, they've got more subscribers, they're selling more ad revenue than ever before. But also, when I look at that, they're making it more complicated for a basic user to maximize LinkedIn. Some of us that are using it a lot will know how the limitations are kicking in and what they're doing. They're trying to make you upgrade to higher packages, which is a subscription model. That's what subscription model is. Come in at a fairly cheap rate, and before you know you're paying quite a lot of money for access to services. But it also tells you that your competitors are doing this as well. So, you might be sitting on a free version thinking you're quite limited. I'll show you some numbers later, but this, there are more subscribers coming onto this platform. It's a successful platform. That's what it's also saying. So are you in the right place looking to do business here? Yes, you are. Look at what they're doing. They're up by 15 billion, and revenues in the first quarter of 2024 are already 8% up for LinkedIn. So they're doing very well. Think about Netflix. Think about these other subscription. They're all dropping. Yeah, cost of living crisis, not for LinkedIn. Okay. Here's some fun facts. If it gets a bit too rowdy with everyone laughing, then we'll have to mute everybody again. Okay, so this is really probably the most powerful thing. The first statement here: 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn drive business decisions. Okay, so the decision makers or influencing decision makers. That's really such an important thing, because it means the people we're looking to talk to are on LinkedIn. They're not just also rans. They're people that we can talk to about making decisions. 200 countries worldwide. So if you're looking to expand your business into other territories, there's really no reason why we can't do that. Yes, we've got time barriers and stuff like that, but particularly from the UK, there's a lot of English-speaking countries that we can easily do business with. I've been, looking at New York and stuff like that, and it's really quite easy. You've got, the time difference. But here's what I was talking earlier: the premium subscriptions are now up 55% year on year. This is a 2023 v 2022 statistic. So 55% of people are now more subscribed. And a lot of that will be to do with the LinkedIn changes that will come across later. What LinkedIn has done deliberately to almost force this. You don't just get a 55% increase in subscription rates from a mature business unless you've forced it. And that's what they've done. They've been really brave and they've forced it, whether we like it or not. Average age of users between 30 and 49. So a lot of young people are not really on it. And so it's a mid-range tier group, which probably represents quite a lot of middle management as well in terms of 30 to 49. Website visitors. So when you drive traffic from your LinkedIn to your website, i.e. maybe using a blog or some type of redirection from a post, they've got twice as high the conversion rate than a typical visitor to actually convert to you and actually do business with you. And they've also got twice the buying power, so they've got more income, and therefore, again, there's more value here. And this is an interesting statistic. As being a B2B marketeer myself, 82% of B2B marketeers see success on LinkedIn. Okay, so what I'm really doing here, going through these little fun facts, if you like, is this is success. This is a successful platform to be operating on. And if you're trading B2B, then this is where you need to be. Some more people coming in here, Liam. Can you keep your eye on that, please? Okay, so really, when it comes down to it, this is what this afternoon is really about. This next half an hour is, okay, what is creating a strategy? Now, I'm sure a lot of you are on LinkedIn, and some of you will be strategizing how you approach it, but the majority of people are just coming on and messing around and doing the best they can. That they're not really thinking of LinkedIn as a strategy. And feel free to screenshot this if you want, guys. But these are the steps we're talking about here. Optimizing our profile, which is obvious, really. Finding your target audience, how you find out the real target audience. And we're going to go into that. Connecting to that target audience, authentically messaging them. And then the real big thing here, the follow through. how we follow through. So I'm sure there's people on here have been connected to people for a very long period of time, and we've never done anything about it. Yeah, and really, that's what I'm talking about with the power of data. We need to think about our connections as valuable uh, um, relationships that we can have. And I'm talking about relationships, and as you see, they're sustainable relationship building. That's what we're talking. We're not talking direct selling, and at no point we're talking hard selling, and it's very soft selling. Okay, what sometimes referred to as social selling. And I put there education, by educating people about what it is we do, not selling to them. So we get 3,500 selling, if you like, opportunities hit at us every day via the media channels, whether that's social media, TV, radio, all these different forms of media are selling to us 3,500 times a day. And we're so sophisticated as humans now, we can see it a mile away. How quick, when someone goes to sell to us, do we just turn off and duck? We do it very, very quickly. We immediately sense a sale and someone selling to us, and we're not interested. We're really not. Even if we were interested in buying, we're not interested in that approach. So we have to really form a more sustainable way now of creating relationships online. And now, when I'm saying a relationship, I'm not talking about let's get engaged, let's have a marriage, let's a long-term thing. Yes, of course we want long-term. It doesn't take a long time to form a relationship online. It can be done in a matter of days to weeks, in actual fact. And I'm talking weeks as we start to build relations. And obviously, we want them to go on longer, but we just don't go in straight away for the kill. We must avoid that type of approach. And I call it the BBC method. And I've added a little bit onto it here, but it's build, and then communicate value. The BBC method: build, communicate value. So if you were just to come onto LinkedIn today as a brand new user, you've got to build your audience, and you continue to build it. And then our strategy is about every 10 weeks, we're going to communicate back to the audience, but we're going to communicate back to them from a value-driven position. We're not just going to communicate back, oh, by the way, it's 10% off my offer now, or there's a buy one, get one free deal. This is still selling. We're going to communicate back with saying, I thought you might be interested in this white paper that I've delivered. And we're going to repeat that. So it's build, communicate value, repeat. This is the strategy effectively on LinkedIn, but there's loads of nuances. But what we're ending up doing is working our network. So some of you will be familiar with the old adage of the sales guy that knocks, or the sales guys, girls that knock on doors. And the majority of business is done between visit 4 and 7. Most people stop at visit 3. Okay, so the most successful people in sales are people that are knocking on doors, if you like, beyond the 3rd occasion, because everybody else has given up. Now, if you think about that analogy from a digital point of view, how quickly are you giving up on these digital contacts? Likelihood is probably very early. Now, in digital world, that number is 18. It's not 3, 4, it's 18. So we need 18 points of contact before someone's going to do business with us. The good news about that is that we can contact people indirectly a little bit more through our social media feeds and stuff like that. And that forms part of this overall developing of trust. But you can see what I'm talking about, 18 points of contact. We might message someone once or twice and drop it, we leave it. Okay, so this is the part of our strategy, is this sustainable relationship building, keeping communication, and having reasons for people to be here. You guys and girls that are on here now is part of our messaging. That's how you're here, and you can do exactly the same thing. So let's have a look at really number 1. So before you go out to really push your own profile, your own personality, your own brand, you really got to make sure that you have had a look at what you look like online. And building trust is everything, because if I approach you without a picture in my profile, the chances are our perception is that's a fake profile. Okay, because there's a lot of fake and there's a lot of corruption online, and we are hypersensitive to it. Even though LinkedIn might not, you might not consider that stuff like that goes on in LinkedIn, it does. People will be trying to get information about you for reasons that are not very nice. So we have to build trust, and that's built in many different ways. But yeah, simply having a headshot is actually probably the simple, most important thing. And obviously it being a clean headshot, that it isn't you on the beach and things like that, or riding a motorbike or whatever it happens to be. It wants to be nice and clean. It's a professional network. And so we need that it's very, very important. The next one down is the headline. So this area just below my name is also an SEO area. So this is picked up outside of the network as well as inside of the network, and it's SEO driven. So people are going to pick up on it, and you really want to get in there what it is you do. And so marketing consultant at Joseph Creative Business, and then we've got LinkedIn trainer, mentor, mastermind group coach, and marketing influencer. I picked up all the things, not all of the things, but some of the key things I want people to be aware of about what it is I do. So you want to think about it the same. So a director at ABC company doesn't tell the visitor anything about what it is you do. A director at a recruitment company doesn't say either. So you really want to be saying exactly what it is that you do that can help the client. It's good for the client. It's good for them to know what it is. So they get, we've got, it's a bit like a website. We have around 7 seconds when someone drops onto this platform that they actually understand what it is you do. And we certainly don't want to be putting them off. We want to be encouraging them and saying, oh, that's positive. So what other trust elements are there? Recommendations. Now, we're all a bit guilty of not picking recommendations up. It's people are really good at recommending you as long as you jump onto them fairly fast and say, can you recommend? Well, within the profile, you've got your recommendations area. You just open it up and you can gain more recommendations, which is really important. It's forming this trust element that we want to build. And again, trust is mega important. A strong about me again is good. So these days there's no reason why your about me can't be strong. It wants to be relevant to the type of clients you're looking for. Your about me wants to be talking about, this is the sort of clients I work with, so that people can understand. Specifically if you're very strong in a certain area as well. If you're strong in the trade environment, or you're strong in medical, or you're strong in these areas, it's very powerful. People are very aligned to working with other people that understand their business. Okay. So even though I can work in multiple sectors, and I do, if I actually start talking about being specialized in a certain sector, guess what? You just do more business because they're aligned. People are aligned to you. He or she you work in my business. Great. You're the person I want to talk to. Very powerful, the alignment. So in your about me, if you are in a niche environment or you work in particular specialized area, really play on that. And then when you're building your audience, you're playing to more of that audience. Okay. The other two bits on here, I've got use featured. So if you can see on my profile here, this open to, if you click on open to, it will give you a number of different things that you can do. One of them is featured. And if you add in your featured, you can then feature some of your posts, etc., from actually within your actual timeline, which is quite powerful, because when people come to your profile, they're not necessarily looking at all your activities. So if you've got a featured area, you can show off the key activities that you want them to see. So really nice to show that. And it also prioritizes it and makes your overall profile look much nicer. You've also got different options. You'll see there on mine here, add website or book appointment. Because I'm doing this, I've actually changed this on my profile now to book appointment. Because I'm doing this, and if anyone wants to book an appointment with me, they can just click on, you'll see a little scan later, and you'll just be able to click book appointment. It goes straight into my Calendly. So nice and easy. LinkedIn have made it really easy. If someone wants to make an appointment with you, just click on that. It's linked via your URL, Calendly URL, straight away. Nice and comfortable. Okay, so that's the starting point. So you really got to just work on that. I mean, things like this image behind me, you don't really want that grey, boring LinkedIn image. If that's there, change it. Change it to something a little bit more dynamic. So that it's just freshening up and making your profile look like it's being used and being worked. Okay, so this is, probably the number one area I see that goes wrong for a lot of clients is it's also known as fishing in the right pond. Okay, identifying your target audience. We often hear I can deal with anyone, okay, and all this sort of stuff. Maybe you can deal with anybody, but that's not what we want to be trying to do. We must identify a specific target audience that we want to work with. Even if we've got loads, we must bring it down to a specific target audience. Just as I was saying to you just earlier about how we work with people that we feel aligned to. If you're not aligning in the way you're bringing your target audience into play, then you'll have difficulty aligning to them. So identifying a target audience. Now we know there's UK alone, 38 million users. And if you look down here, I'm talking about getting down to 1 to 2,000 in a search criteria in the end. That's all we really want to be working, 1 to 2,000. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about identifying a new target audience. These are not people connected. This is if we're trying to grow our audience. We want to look at the company size. Now, that might not be possible. If you're using LinkedIn Basic, you will not be able to identify the company size, but you may be able to figure that out in other ways. So let me give you an example. So company size. So the typical companies in the UK are one-man bands. Probably 95% of companies will be a one-man band in terms of the numbers. So if that's something you want to avoid, you need to do something to avoid them. So what might that be? Well, let's say job title. Job title is a really good one because you can use that to avoid certain things. So let's say someone came to me and said, I'm looking for companies of, I don't know, 50 plus, business owners, etc., directors. Now, if we just use directors, we're going to get every director from one-man bands upwards. And that means we're going to flood, my client's going to be flooded with people he'd never asked for. So what we might do is we might choose CEO as a title. Yeah, because that's not used by smaller companies. And that's already now going to elevate us without having to pay LinkedIn. We're going to go CEO as a job title. And now most CEOs are of larger businesses. Okay, and that allows us to avoid the company size. Other things you might do are titles that are used in only larger companies. For example, HR director or HR manager. Small companies don't have those titles. Yeah. So by using those type of titles, we again avoid having to hit smaller companies that might not be our target. And yeah, great, smaller companies are fantastic. I have nothing against them. I'm just trying to give some options because once a small company, we have to start, everyone starts somewhere. So it's just giving you ideas around really trying to avoid having to use Sales Navigator. If you have Sales Navigator, you can simply select the size of company you want to work with. It's as simple as that. Nice and easy. And you can do multiple job titles. You can choose seniority and all sorts of different things that you get an advantage of Sales Navigator. Anyone wants to know more about Navigator, feel free to book on a call with me. So this is really key. So we're trying to find the audience. And as I say, narrowing that audience down. So even when you have multiple audiences, narrow the audience down so that when you communicate to the audience, you can communicate to them on the level required. So that could be that you're communicating to people locally. So I run a business club locally. So I will just communicate with my local contacts in business and invite them to the club because I can do that geographically. Yeah. And so we can use, and sometimes that's a really good way, what we call farming out our contacts. So we might start with people closest to us and start to farm it out. Now, yes, we can deal with people all around the world, but actually we do know that even today it still exists. That if someone's local to you, you might just give them a call, you might contact them, you might message them back. So starting for people closest to us and working out is always a good method of trying to work your contacts. So geography, again, critical. So get that number down and start identifying that audience. If you don't get this bit right, if you skip through this and rush this bit and end up with the wrong target market, you will not get success. It's impossible. If you're dealing with people that don't have money, because they don't spend money, or you're too far up you've gone for too high up the chain and not actually understood the communication, then it won't work. I mean, a good example of that is the way you message a business owner is different to the way you might message a business manager, which again is different to a CEO, and it's different as it goes as these companies get larger. Yeah. So the CEO does different things of a really large corporate than an MD does of a small business. And if you communicate to those two people in the same way, you're likely to fail because one of them isn't going to be right. They can't both sit in the same space normally. So understanding who is my buyer, who's going to work with me is really important. So feel free to put any questions in the chat if you've got anything that you want to know about, and as I go through. So there's a specific reason for why I've come back to connect to your target audience, and knowing LinkedIn's limits. So this is really important. So this is really, really recent. This only happened probably within the last month. LinkedIn changed its sending limits to a new person. This is again, if you're LinkedIn basic, LinkedIn dropped its messaging limit to 10 messages per month. So if you don't know someone and you're on LinkedIn Basic, you can only message 10 people a month. Now, I remember when that was 3,000, and recently, and this within the last 6 months, that was 100 people per week. That is now 10 per month. If you're not seeing that, it's just because it hasn't got to you yet. LinkedIn rolls out these changes and it has a gradual effect on everybody. And in the end, everybody will be affected by these changes. So that means you can only message 10 new people. Well, that's like a nightmare. And that will be a lot of the reason why we've got a 55% explosion in the subscriptions, because people have just gone, I'll pay for it then. Yeah, it's not that expensive. I must be able to message more than 10. Well, guess what? You can. And here's the workaround. What they also did was allow us to connect with 1,000 people per month. Now that's an increase because that number was only 400. So they've allowed us to connect to 1,000 people per month. This is the important bit, but that's only the connect button as we see it. You know, when you just hit your connect button and connect. So we can now connect to 1,000, but really, really critically, just don't connect to anyone. We have got a limit. It is 1,000. That isn't a lot. We really want to be connecting to people that are relevant to us. Yeah. This is in terms of us requesting, not connecting to people that are trying to get to us. This is us requesting to connect with other people. We really need to think of every one of those thousands, really important. Once we've connected to someone, the average typical conversion rate is around 40%. Okay, it's higher for some, slightly less for others, but we should be able to get 40% of those connection requests actually accept our connection during the process of time. So that means we can connect to another 400 people at least per month. Now, once they're connected to us, we can message 3,000 of those a month once they are connected. Okay, so this is showing you how actually, do we have to pay for something? Maybe we don't. Maybe we do. But in this situation, if we connect to someone first, then we can message them later. And by messaging them later, we can talk a little bit more about why we think we should be connected. So we just hit off the connection and then we follow that through. The daily limits. So we've got 150 daily activity limits on LinkedIn. That's an overriding limit that applies to everybody, unless you're purchasing a significant package off LinkedIn. 150 activities is the amount of things you can do in a day. If you exceed that limit, LinkedIn will probably try and find out if you're real. They'll look you to verify, want a copy of your passport, that sort of stuff. And that limit is really doing virtually anything on LinkedIn. I mean, it particularly surrounds messaging and stuff like that. So that limit is a sort of an overarching limit on all the different things we can do. And as I say, I think the powerful thing here is look how many existing connections we can get to, 3,000 of them every month. If we have 3,000 connections, we could message them every month. Now, I'm not saying we should. I'm definitely saying we shouldn't. But the possibility of doing it, if we have good value, is there. And you can see we can only actually request 1,000 a month. So we can do 3 times more activity on people we know, which is going back to my original point of sustainability. How as we connect to people, we need to use that. Okay. So now we've connected. We've now made the connection. We've now got to send them a message. Now we could message every single person with a unique message. Fantastic. You might have seen a post they've done and messaged them. Can't beat that. You can't really beat that. But as a sustainable way, could we deliver a message that we could sort of copy paste type thing, but it's authentic? Because this only works when you really limit the market, the target market again. The market's nice and tight. Now, let's say, for example, it's people that live close to you and are in the industry. Now you can send them a personalized conversational message. But it can keep, because it's quite tight, it's going to come across as it's just been written for them. Darren Brown did something on the TV about 3 or 4 years ago. He had 12 people in a studio, and he went around listening to all their stories, and then he wrote them all a letter. And half of them cried when they left the letter. The other half were sort of stunned that he knew them so well. He gave them all the same letter. Okay, they got the same letter and all reacted to it emotionally. And so don't be off put by thinking we have to create individual messages for everybody. It's hard to sustain that and get results. So think about how you can create it as authentic as possible for individuals so that you can actually get some prospecting done. Yeah. But also mix that in with talking about, saw your post about X, Y, and Z. I really, really resonated with me. Yeah, and you can do stuff like that. We can entertain conversation. It's great. But when we're creating these messages, we've got to think about why we're doing it. We just cannot be selling. I know people will be out there saying, "Well, why are we doing anything if we can't sell?" There's a lead time to the sale. Okay, we got to take our time. We're not going to get anywhere rushing this. So there's a lead time to it. So let's build it and think about what that message might look like. It could even be you're just thanking someone for the invitation. And then next time out, you're actually going to invite them to something. It might be a demo of something you have. It could be that you want them to beta test something with you. Could easily be like what we're doing now on a webinar. You're going to invite them something of value to them. And that's at all points in time. Even this first time you speak to someone, you don't want to burn it straight away. We've all had it happen. You connect to someone, and it happened to me this morning already, and someone straight away wanting to sell to me. And a lot of people these days will actually just block that contact. So by going to guns straight away, they'll block you. So got to think about it in stages. And this is why it's a strategy. We're not just going to connect for the sake of it. We're going to think forward about what our strategy looks like, how we can build a relationship with someone. We might think someone's a great contact for us and that we can do business with. Great. But I don't know if we've ever seen, I was going to put this graph on there, but I ran out a little bit of time. But there's a graph that shows it's like a triangle, or an iceberg, whatever you want to call it. But at the top of the iceberg is the amount of people that are ready to do business with us at any one time, right this second. It is less than 3%. Okay. So we've got 100%, but there's only 3% of people that are ready to do business with us on average right now. There's about another 17% that are potentially starting to get some information around what we do. After that, they're not really in the mix right now. So they're there for the future. Okay. So this is the whole thing about not getting overly aggressive, because most of the people are not in the market. But it also tells us that we have to do numbers. Okay. So if we're not actually connecting to enough people and working this just by numbers alone, we won't get success. There's an old adage in marketing that, I could send 100 leaflets out and get nothing and say, look, do you know what? It's not worth sending leaflets out. I sent 100, I got nothing. But the guy next door sent 1,000 and got 10 responses. okay? Because we have to do enough volume to actually get results in marketing. We can't just message 5 people and go, doesn't work. We have to message a significant number of people because of the fact that so many of the people are actually not in the market right now. And people talk about being in the right place at the right time. That's so wrong. You've got to be in the right place all the time. Not the right place at the right time. You can't judge that. You just have to be in the right place at all times. And that's why I talk about, this relationship building, this communication, this adding value, because at some point, this 1 to 3%, this 3% of people, it's a moving number. It's a different set of people every day, every month. So as we communicate back, we keep hitting these numbers. So that's the importance. Just on the limit. So if you're sending a message to someone you don't know, and if you're got LinkedIn Basic, or if you're using Sales Navigator, the limit to someone you don't know, and I mean you don't know them, they're a T2, T3 connection, is 300 characters. Okay. Once you connect to them, the limit goes up to 500 words. Okay, so now we can talk a bit more. But for God's sake, do not use that as a reason to write paragraphs and paragraphs of stuff that you do and to people. Keep it concise, clean. It's really important that we're very clear about our offering. Don't talk about more than one thing if you can help it. Yeah, people love to do it. I remember I said to someone, one of our clients, you've got 300 characters. He sent me a 1,200 word message because he just couldn't get it down to 50 words. Because that's just was a mindset thing. So we've got to think about how we can communicate to someone in a clear and concise way. And if we have more than one offering, don't go into it. Let's keep it concise to one of our offerings as well. And if we are talking about offering, we talk about it in a support and advice way, not in a selling way. Could I support you if you're doing X, Y, and Z? Could I support you with that? If you're looking for any advice on this, feel free to message me. Happy to have a chat at no cost to you about that. You see how it's just friendly. We're not trying to overall sell and demoing things that you've got. I do a demo where people can jump on and see their target audience. Do you want to see a target audience? Okay, message me back and let's get on a call and I'll show you what your target audience looks like. And that's great. Maybe on Sales Navigator, something you might not be familiar with. Okay, we've covered some of this, working our existing connections. I'm sort of putting in here the timeline on that. So I'm talking about here every 8 to 10 weeks. So every third month, effectively, start working your existing connections again. Don't do it all the time, really, unless you're doing something like I've got a business club. I might invite people quite regularly to that because there's the value in there. When there's value, you can do a little bit more when there's really good value for people. But you've got to remember when you message someone in LinkedIn, your messages remain in your own inbox to them. They will see a complete trail history of what you're doing. And if you're just overcooking it, it'll just look like you're actually annoying the hell out of someone. So we don't want to overcook it, but think about that in an 8 to 10 weeks strategy. So this build, connect. So, build, communicate. We're communicating value. We're going to do it every 8 to 10 weeks, sort of in that third month, really effectively. And then these are sort of value-added things that I put down here. So webinars, events, you might send them. I mean, something like, I know you guys are in recruitment, which really, some of you guys are in recruitment. These salary surveys are what people are earning. People are interested in that. If you're giving this information away, survey results, you might have done some survey, white papers in your industry, again, LinkedIn Lives. These are all things you're doing. See, what we're not doing is saying, I've got this for sale now and I've now got an offer. That we're not going near any of that. It just does not work. We're really always trying to be front of mind. It's the most important thing, front of mind. When people are ready to deal with you, they'll give you a chance if you're front of mind. Conscious on time, guys. So moving forward, timing of your posts. So a lot of the best days currently, from the research we're doing on our customers, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the best days to post. I mean, optimum LinkedIn is 1 post per day. That's optimum. Don't do more than 1 post per day on LinkedIn. It doesn't really benefit you, really. 1 post per day. And if you're struggling to do that, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Best times. We're starting to see really that between 7 and 8 is the best time to put posts out. It will get the most engagement. But of course, we have got a different working arrangement going on around the world now, and sort of lunchtime can get quite good traction, and evenings is then the best time. So they're the three time ranges that you want to be posting in. Of course, you can schedule video and schedule posts on LinkedIn now, so you can choose your time, which is great. You don't have to just do it when you've written it. You can schedule it and do it. Consider time zones. So if you're working in a market, obviously, I'm sure you will be considering this, but if you're working with the US, you've got to consider that they're considerably behind us on time, and we want to make sure that if we're doing something for that market that we're seeing them. LinkedIn is a business card. Okay, I'm sure some of you will know this, but I do come across lots of people that don't. There's a little video in here, and you can see the search bar. If you click into the search bar, you'll see a little box just appearing here. I'll just go watch it. It's quite quick, this video. Just here, this is a little button here. You press that, and this code will come up. If you use this code, you can just connect to people like a business card, so that nice and easy when you're out networking. If you're meeting people, you can just connect. So many people don't have business cards anymore. And we can use this for networking, meetings, events, video meetings. Even now, you can scan that and you connect to me on video. So good, important thing on your marketing when you're doing any sort of visualization, as you'll see as I go forward. This helps you connect to people. Really, really cool. You've got my code and you've got scan. So you can present your code to someone here, or you can scan theirs by clicking on the scan. This is only available as a function on your mobile phone. Okie dokie. That's us. Why you should choose us. We're going into questions and answers shortly, but we can take care of all of what I've just shown you 24/7, 365. Our investment is $150 per month. We'll move on from that. Here's this exact code now being used in marketing. You can see. So if you scan that, it will take you straight to my LinkedIn. You can follow me. You can comment on me. You can book an appointment with me straight through Calendly. This is good for yourself. If you're trying to do this, it's a great way. Just have it on your marketing stuff. Maybe have it in the background sometimes. Nice and easy for people to get hold of you. It's one thing you don't want to do is make it difficult for people to follow through with you. Okay, so if there's anything you've seen there today that you want to go through in a bit more detail, because that was an overview, really happy to go through and show your actual audience that you might want to be dealing with, showing you the importance of refining that target audience, seeing whether you need Sales Navigator. Some of the stuff we do, we can actually do that without you needing Sales Navigator. We can refine it further without the use of you having to have Navigator, which is something we can talk about and give you a little bit more insight. Hope you enjoyed that. Happy to take any questions. I don't know if we've got many questions. Liam? Daxter wants to see the timing screen. Let's see if we can go back. Oops, don't know what's happened there. Just stop sharing that for a second. I'll just reshare. Bear with me, Daxter. The timing screen is just broadly showing what I was saying there. Bear with.